Welcome everyone to the November 2020 TDL Member Forum. We're so glad that everybody's joined us today. I'm Kristi Park. I'm the director of the TDL, and I'm joined by a few of our staff members, Courtney Mumma, Lea DeForest, and Alex Suarez, along with a few of our members who will share announcements throughout today's forum. And we want to welcome everybody and thank everybody for being here. For those of you who are new to Zoom, we'll just do a real quick tour. Since this is set up as a Zoom webinar, participants' microphones and videos are muted, and our presenters will also keep their mics and videos muted until it's their turn to present. We hope you'll use the chat box to say hello and let others know you're here, make comments, whatever you want to share in that comment box. And if you have a question, please type it into the Q&A box. We'll have a few minutes for questions at the end of the forum, although we do have a very packed agenda today. We'll follow the usual agenda, but one reminder as we get started, we are recording this and we will publish it later on the TDL YouTube channel. So as I said, we'll follow the usual agenda, and since we have a pretty full one, I'm gonna just jump right in to the beginning here. So on to the next slide. One more slide, please. Thanks. So we held our fall governing board meeting last week over Zoom, and here we all are. Lea made us take a photo, although she blocked herself out. This board provides strategic direction for the TDL, and it's comprised of the library deans and directors from 7 of our member institutions, along with a handful of non-voting members. We have permanent seats for the founding ARL members of TDL, and the remaining 3 are elected at large from the rest of the regular membership. Courtney and I also serve on this board in non-voting positions, as does Mark Smith, the state librarian. I want to thank all of our wonderful board members for their attendance and their amazing support of TDL always, and especially welcome our newest elected board member, Diane Bruxfort, the Dean of Libraries at the University of North Texas. It's wonderful to have her on the board. Kelly Gonzalez, the Associate Vice President for Library Services at UT Southwestern, will serve as chair of the board over the coming year, and Lorraine Harricombe, the Vice Provost and Director of the Libraries at UT Austin, was selected to serve as Vice Chair, Chair-elect. You can learn more about our boards and all the other members of the board at the link that Leah's going to paste in chat. We hope you'll get to know them. One of the major agenda items at this last board meeting was to review and approve a new strategic plan for 2020 through 2023. This includes a new mission statement and a new vision statement, as well as a set of strategies and initiatives that will guide our work over the next 3 years. This is our new mission statement here on this slide, and I'm going to read it for you. A collaborative consortium based in Texas and rooted in higher education, the Texas Digital Library builds capacity among its membership for ensuring equitable access to and preservation of digital content of value to research, instruction, cultural heritage, and institutional memory. This mission statement expresses our rootedness in this place in Texas and in the higher education space, but it also allows room for partnerships beyond those milieus. And it explains our commitment to addressing the problems of inadequate and unequal access and of the vulnerability of digital content that's of value to our institutional partners. Our new vision statement on the next slide outlines an aspirational future where we achieve our mission and execute our strategies with excellence. I'm going to read through this even though it's pretty long because I think it's worth sitting with for just a minute. The TDL will become a nationally recognized leader as a provider of essential, equitable, and sustainable infrastructure for libraries and cultural memory organizations, and its efforts will help to transform society through the radical broadening of access to valuable research, teaching, and cultural heritage materials. As a center for expertise and excellence, it will be a sought-after partner by other consortia, institutions, and funders, and it will serve as a model of community-based collaboration in service of open access, open data, open education, and digital preservation. TDL's success will be bound to that of our member institutions and their workers. Through our collective efforts, we'll prepare and empower a diverse and inclusive library workforce to meet the challenges of the moment by amplifying their unique contributions, enabling sustainable workloads, and fostering mutually supportive communities. In the interest of time today, we're just going to look at these two pieces of the strategic plan, but we will discuss our strategies and initiatives that are in the plan in a future forum. So for now, we invite you to read the whole plan on our website at a link that Lea is going to paste into chat. And let us know if you have any questions or thoughts. We will be talking through some of the other components of the plan later on. But for now, we'll move on to some other announcements and reminders. So as you know, the first ever virtual TCDL is going to take place May 24th through 27th next year. And we want to make sure that you're aware that our call for proposals opened last week. That call outlines some broad areas that the committee hopes to see covered in proposals, along with guidelines for session types, which include a lot of traditional session types that you'll be familiar with some modifications to facilitate the virtual format of the conference. You can review that full call for proposals at tdl.org, and Lea has just pasted a link to it in chat. Please email us at info@tdl.org if you have any questions. And remember that proposals are due January 29th. And on a related note, our TDL Awards nominations are open. So these awards honor Texas-based individuals and groups that have made outstanding contributions to the advancement of digital libraries. And if you attended our awards ceremony over the summer, you know we have a wealth of amazing people and projects in the state. And our very favorite thing at TDL is to highlight those for the community. So we are asking for your help to do that. And we hope that you'll consider nominating yourself or some of your colleagues for these awards. Anybody who contributes to digital scholarship or the preservation, management, or access of digital content is eligible. You don't need to be affiliated with a TDL member institution to receive an award or to nominate someone. And the TDL Awards Committee is especially encouraging submissions from professionals from historically underrepresented communities and their allies. The deadline for these nominations is February 5th, 2021. And you can find more information about the awards and past winners at tdl.org/awards. Looking forward to seeing some of those great nominations. Finally, before we move into service and project updates, I want to highlight a community project that TDL has played a part in that recently won an international award. Last week, the International Council on Archives Award for Collaboration and Cooperation was given to the NDSA's Levels of Digital Preservation Revision project. The Digital Preservation Coalition grants this award as a way to celebrate significant collaboration that has a demonstrable and positive impact on digital preservation. So a little bit about the levels of digital preservation. These were first released in 2013. They became a foundational set of practices in the field, and they exist to help organizations take practical steps to protect their at-risk materials. You may remember that our own Courtney Mumma, when she first joined TDL, adapted those original levels of preservation for Texas institutions, creating the Texas levels of preservation, or TexLOP, as we fondly refer to them, to help our members with assessing their own digital preservation programs. Courtney also served on the core revision committee that won this award. And that revision committee undertook a revision and expansion of the levels, which were developed based on community feedback and which include some new materials and guidance resources along with the core levels of preservation. So we hope you'll take a look at the announcement about this award and at the revised levels of preservation themselves. And we congratulate Courtney and the NDSA revision group on this great achievement. So we'll move into service and projects updates, starting with an update about DuraCloud. Okay. This is another kudos for one of our staff members. We want to congratulate our senior software developer, Nick Woodward, who was recently invited by Lyricist to become a committer on the DuraCloud project. As you know, DuraCloud is an open source platform that Lyricist manages, but it's also a key component to our digital preservation infrastructure. We host our own instance of DuraCloud as part of that infrastructure. Nick has worked with the Lyricist developers over the past several years on improvements and bug fixes for DuraCloud. But this is an invitation to take on a formal role within that open source project. And it is the first invitation to any developer outside of Lyricist or its predecessor, DuraSpace, to take on that committer role for DuraCloud. So it's a real recognition of Nick's quality work and his commitment to collaboration. And it also allows Nick and by extension TDL to have a greater role in shaping the evolution of the DuraCloud platform. So we're really excited about deepening this partnership around DuraCloud, and also proud for Nick on this achievement. On to DSpace updates. So first off, an update on our usage stats project. Nick Woodward and our product owner on the project, who is Adrian Shapiro from Texas Women's University, are continuing work to develop supplementary usage reports for our hosted DSpace users. Adrian led a great discussion at our last DSpace user group meeting to gather feedback on some components for those reports. And Nick is implementing some of those changes and refactoring the code to address performance issues with some of our larger repositories. So we'll keep you posted on progress on that. We're getting pretty close to having something that will start going out to repository managers on a regular basis. And we'll also keep you posted in the DSpace user group meetings. Speaking of which, our November DSpace user group meeting, which was originally scheduled for next week, has been moved to December 1st. So just take note of that. If you're on the calendar invitation, you should have received an updated invitation from Lea for that. And then we've canceled our later December meeting. So this will be the last meeting of the year. Finally, I want to remind our DSpace users and anybody else really who's interested that we've set up a sandbox site in the most recent beta release of DSpace 7, which is beta 4, for our members and users to explore and test this new and very different version of DSpace that's we expect to come out in 2021. That full release, the 7.0 release, won't come out until, maybe mid-2021. But in the meantime, the DSpace community has been releasing these incremental beta releases to get the community involved with testing and learning about the updates to the user interface. So we encourage you to get in there and test. We have some instructions available for setting up an account in that sandbox in the TDL wiki, which Lea has linked to in chat. So let us know if you would like to get in there. Let us know if you have any questions. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Courtney to continue our service updates.
Hey, thank you, Kristi, and howdy, everybody. So the first update is about the Texas Data Repository. TDL is upgrading the Texas Data Repository Dataverse to a new version that's going to facilitate our ability to fulfill the requirements of a Planet Texas 2050 grant funded pilot with UT Austin and the Texas Advanced Computing Center, or TAC. The grant was to pilot the ability to add remote larger data storage for data sets, much larger than the 10 gigabyte data set limit that we have set currently in Dataverse. And so this is very exciting for a lot of our TDR members. Currently, we host over 44,000 files in over 1,300 data sets and over 491 Dataverses. And we have 9 members who are a member of the Texas Data Repository right now, and we hope to see that grow. Sorry. Next slide, Alex. Next is a Vireo update. Frank Smutniak, our lead developer on Vireo, has completed migrations into Vireo 4 for Sam Houston State University, Baylor, UT Austin, UT Southwest Medical, University of Houston, and UT Dallas. For the next couple of months, those institutions will continue to adjust those new Vireo 4 instances to their liking using some of the new functions until they're ready for us to eliminate their older Vireo and make the new one their production instance. Other remaining TDL member migrations are continuing at a rapid pace now that we've gotten past some issues we were facing in the beginning. And additionally, the Vireo developers are wrapping up a sprint led by the new Vireo Steering Committee product owner, Chris Starcher of Texas Tech. We want to thank TTU and Texas A&M for their assistance on this effort in this sprint. And finally, I'd like to give an update on DPLA. DPLA is one of our newer services, and TDL is really proud to announce that our text hub for harvesting metadata describing your repository collections in the Digital Public Library of America now has 2 participants. So Stephen F. Austin University and the Houston Public Library are both members, and the Houston Public Library, of course, is our first public library member of TDL. We do need more of you to contribute so that unique Texas collections are discoverable in DPLA. You can follow the link here and the link that Lea is going to provide here in the chat to our service requirements and find out how to become part of this effort. And because the top 2 results of a search for barbecue shouldn't be from California, as I've shown in this screenshot here. So now I'll hand over to Lea for some community updates.
Okay, thanks, Courtney. That barbecue thing, that's hilarious and wrong. Thank you for that call to action. This is Lea DeForest. I'm the communications manager with Texas Digital Library. And I think we're ready for that next slide, please, Alex. Right on. I'm so excited to get to introduce these 2 fantastic people you're seeing here on our slide deck here, Rachel Winston and Itza Carbajal, who were recently elected to different roles within the Society of American Archivists. First, a bit about Rachel and the SAA Council. The Council is the organization's governing body. It's responsible for ensuring SAA's financial stability and growth, developing and implementing the Society's strategic priorities, providing overall leadership and direction for SAA and its component groups, building and coordinating relationships with individuals and groups outside of SAA, and providing oversight of the Society's executive office. Excuse me. In February, Rachel was elected to the council, and Rachel is currently the Black Diaspora Archivist with the Nettie Lee Benson Latin American Collection at the University of Texas at Austin. And Rachel's joined us here today. Welcome, Rachel. I'm wondering if you could describe your vision for your role at SAA and how TDL and our members can help you reach your goals.
Yes, thank you, Lea. Thank you to TDL for inviting me to be here today. And I also just have to say, it is always a joy and a pleasure to share space with my colleague, Itza. I love that we're on the same slide since we can't be together in person anymore. So I was elected to SAA Council. I'll be serving a 3-year term, so I'll be on council, seated until 2023. The current SAA president is Rachel Watts. And as a council member, I am in regular contact with the president as well as the SAA staff. I can tell you all so far that some of the priorities for President Vought's tenure will be to look at the SAA component sections and think strategically about how they may be consolidated or work more effectively in collaboration with one another. So if any of you or your staff or folks you know are involved in component groups or sections, please know that this will be a collaborative process. Council intends to communicate with folks along the way. No rash or sudden decisions will be made in regards to that. SAA also is looking to expand the offerings of member forums. So again, if there are issues and a range of topics from kind of professional practice to skills you might want to have, or even questions you have about the organization, please let us know. We do plan to have some more structured conversations available at a member-wide level. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I do want to just toss it out there also that SAA is gearing up for its 2021 annual meeting. Right now it's undecided how it will look, although most of it, we're planning for it to be mostly virtual, but there is an idea that there could be some in-person element to it. That being said, there is a CFP. I will drop that in the chat in just a moment. The deadline is in January, which is a little later. Oh, thank you, Courtney. A little later than normal. So I do encourage everyone to think about presentations you might like to make. They will be pre-recorded and offered online during the conference time. So I will wrap it up and hand it over to my colleague. I will finish just by saying that I'm really excited to be in this position and work closely with our colleagues from across the country, but certainly look forward to bringing forth any questions or issues you all have, your staff, your institutions have directly to council to see how we can support you. As a quick anecdote, I was meeting with a group that I liaised with yesterday, and I was able to bring TCDL to their attention. Folks were talking about wanting to think about different conferences. And so TDL actually bumped to the top of a few members' list. So that's exciting. I'm really glad to help bring that perspective to our national organization. And if any of you are interested in becoming more involved with SAA, not just with council, but just the organization as a whole, please do be in touch. So thank you.
Rachel, you're so awesome. Thank you so much for cross-pollinating and representing.
Oh yeah, of course. It was a
SAA
perfect
Council.
opportunity.
That's awesome. Thank you. Next up, we are going to hear from Itza, but quickly about the SAA Nominating Committee. It's composed of 5 members who serve for 1 year. 3 members are elected each year by the membership, and nominating members are responsible for creating the slate of candidates from which SAA's elected leadership will be determined. So Itza Carbajal is a former TDL member with as the Latin American metadata librarian at the Benson Library. She's currently a doctoral candidate at the University of Washington. And Itza was elected to serve on SAA's nominating committee. And Itza, welcome. And I'm wondering if you also could describe your vision for your role and how we at TDL can help you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go a little bit more into specifics about the nominating committee because I think this group is very fascinating. And prior to being elected, I don't think I actually knew everything that went through putting people on a candidate slate. And so as Lea mentioned, there are 5 members in the nominating committee. We each serve a 1-year term. 3 of those are elected on a yearly basis versus 2 of those are representatives from council. So from Rachel's group, these are typically senior council members who are in their last year of being on SAA Council. And we're in charge of basically identifying the candidates that then members get to vote on for the four main positions. There are two technically like elections for SA. There's like elections for like the formal leadership, and then there's elections for sections and other groups. But we're in charge of selecting candidates for vice president, president-elect, treasurer, council, as well as nominating committee. And basically what we do for that whole year at the beginning of the year is we just scout. We're scouting for candidates. We're doing research on people. We're trying to reach out to people to see also like, do they have capacity? Are they interested? In an effort to be able to bring forth a slate of candidates to our membership that represents not only the breadth of SA membership, but the skills that people bring in, as well as perhaps a vision that we might have as a committee. And so while I can't really share yet the details because we're still finalizing the slate, I am super excited to note that this nominating committee has just been so intentional about thinking through what does it mean to select a group of people? And normally, I'm going to give you all a lot of insider things on the nominating committee. Normally, it's 2 candidates per position. And if some of y'all may know, that isn't always the case in the past. But typically, you know, we will have scouted much more than 2 people, and then we will select 2 people to be on the slate officially. And this year, we as a nominating committee have been really thinking through a lot of the concerns that we ourselves bring forth to the field, but also concerns that we've heard other members mention. And just some of them would be like, you know, there's oftentimes overrepresentation from certain archival settings. So all of us are academic archivists, really big presence of academic archivists at SAA, and thinking through like, what does that mean for like loner rangers or business archives, government archives, city archivists, as well as like thinking through what does it mean to bring in newer archivists versus more established archivists, and the tensions between either being intergenerational or just like, you know, thinking of people who are going through their educational settings at a different period, even by like, you know, anything from 3 to 5 years. Also the rotation of leadership. I don't know if TDL and all of y'all feel this in your regional associations, but in SA, you oftentimes see the same people just kind of go around. And so we've been trying to think through that. Also, how do we support and cultivate new leadership, or even people who are established but maybe don't feel as though they're ready to take on the next level of leadership. And then finally, of course, bringing forth candidates that haven't historically been represented in the field. And knowing SA is also representative of the national kind of makeup of archivists, thinking through like, what does it mean to work in a predominantly white field? And when the archivists are also reflected in that, in the leadership, what does that mean for, you know, the future of the field? And so with that, I think I like this question of like, what would I want from TDL membership? And I think I've found out how important it is to really support your members to feel as though they are not only capable of taking on leadership, but that they're qualified. Because in a lot of our discussions in the nominating committee, we hear from people that they just don't think that they're worthy. And that's been just kind of like a really difficult, I don't know, response that we hear, because we're just like, no, look at everything you're doing, look at everything you've done. And so oftentimes the more successes that we've seen are those that have gotten some entry through either their local associations or groups or regional groups, as way for them to say like, oh yeah, I have done this, I have been a treasurer, or yeah, I have run for like president-elect, and I do feel capable of kind of like taking that role and doing it on a national level. Because otherwise just people can downplay their abilities so easily. And so I would just really encourage, you know, we have such amazing people in our Texas archival and cultural heritage orgs, and to just, you know, give them a shot and really just cultivate them to be the next leaders. And they don't have to be leaders for SAA, but to just like know that they can do it and that we believe and support them.
Thank you so much, Itza. That was so incredibly well said. And I just want to thank you for spearheading this incredibly challenging work. And to both you and Rachel, we at TDL are so proud of you and just want to continue finding ways to work with you. And again, just thanks so much. It's you're doing such great work on behalf of Texas, and even though you're not there anymore, you're not with us here anymore, Itza, we miss you. I do recognize it's 11 o'clock right now, and as usual, we have more news to share than time allows. So I'm going to very quickly blaze through the rest of these updates. And please know that if you can stick around, great. If not, we have shared out an agenda with all of the links, and we'll be sharing slides in the recording later on. CFP land is here, and as Kristi mentioned, our TCDL CFP dropped last week, and I noted that same morning that we sent it out, about 3 or 4 different CFPs were in my inbox. So I just, we'll share links to all of these in chat, but I just want to take a moment and say one thing that I'm so thrilled with is that the pandemic has not slowed down our conference, our partners who also have conferences and are moving to online formats. And so I do hope that we can step up and share our work and present at these conferences. Of course, TCDL being a favorite here at TDL, but there are some great conferences out there, so please take note. And again, we'll share links in chat. Next slide, please. More opportunities. I'm hopeful that you've all received information about both of these, but we have Recordings at Risk with CLEAR has their request for applications for their grant, and they are hosting a webinar later today if you're interested in applying. We have Courtney's pasting links in chat about this, and TDL also is hosting a webinar with the Higher Ed Coordinating Board tomorrow, and we're going to hear from Kyla Torre. If you have questions or are interested in applying for one of the Higher Ed Coordinating Board state OER grants, I do hope you'll join us tomorrow. Next slide. The oral history webinars are going to continue next month. Last month we heard from Adrian and Abra. Next month we're going to hear from Stephen. Oh boy, I'm going to botch his last name. Sealiff. Sorry, Stephen, if you're here. And he works with the Institute for Oral History at Baylor University. He's going to present on oral history metadata and standards. And thanks for pasting a link in chat, Courtney. You can learn more and register there. And one more webinar series coming up that we're super excited about. It's called the Research Integrity for Library Professionals, Context and Tools for Building a Program at Your Institution. This is a workshop series and will be highly participatory, and culminating with attendees developing teaching modules for their home institutions. Our hosts are Doctors Melody Hare and Bruce Herbert, and they will offer certificates of completion for those who apply. So we do hope you'll head over to that website that Courtney linked in the Linkapalooza in chat, and register for that, and please email me if you have any questions. That's it from me, and I'll hand it back to you, Kristi.
Thanks, Lea. And thanks especially to Itza and Rachel for being with us today. Thank you to all of you who joined us for today's forum. We have time for a few questions. Well, we don't really have time for a few questions, but we can certainly take a few questions for those who have stuck around with us for a few extra minutes in today's forum. If you have questions, you can enter those in the Q&A section or in chat. We're watching chat as well if you want to enter it there. All right. Well, listen, thanks again for being here. It's nice to always have the opportunity to spend a little time with you, even if it's virtually every month. And we want, from all of us at TDL, we want to wish all of you and your families and loved ones a wonderful Thanksgiving next week, and hope you have a restful and restorative holiday and break from work. And we will see you again at the forum next month in December. Take care, everybody.